Okay. So can you summarize the yesterday session, one of you? What uh, we learned yesterday? Mhm. Yeah. So yes, yes. No, no. We will see Postman today, and then we'll see the sequel later. Um, yeah. Again, Postman is an important tool. Okay. So in yesterday's session, we have seen how to implement the other action methods and how to test them from the Swagger. So Swagger is a very handy tool which help you to understand the APIs, and even it will help you to test the APIs. But Postman will be very handy and very useful. So when you're testing your APIs in large scale, so there are a lot of concepts in Postman, and if you're developing API, so you will use Postman for sure, either Postman, Fiddler for testing your applications. So this is the Postman UI. So you can go to uh, web and you can just download the Postman. I think it's free. Okay, yeah, Postman download. You can just download it, and once you download, you can see this is a Postman desktop version, we call it as. And even you can use your Google account to log in. You can see the Teams, my workspace. Yeah, if you see, I logged in with my uh, Gmail ID. Either you can use uh, any of your Gmail IDs or any Outlook IDs, or you can create a new account using Postman, and you can use the Postman to test your APIs. So once you um, download your Postman, there are a couple of configurations you have to make. But first we will test without those configurations, and then we'll make those configurations. So in order to test your API in the Postman, you have to run that API. You have to deploy that API. And when you run the code, either by using F5 or the green button up there, your application will be deployed locally at this port. Your application will be deployed locally at this port. Localhost 8080 is the HTTPS. Non-HTTPS is 5233. So these two URLs you can use it to test your APIs from the Postman. So this is my Swagger. So you can keep Swagger and Postman side by side and um, do the testing. Okay. So here there are different things like you can add a new environment. Okay. So this is new environment variable where you can add a new environment variable and you can use it in your all your tests. And what is this collection? So again, this collection is a group of API endpoints. So generally when you are testing your APIs, there are different environments will be there, right? The development environment, QA environment, UAT environment, production environment. So this collection will help you to manage your endpoints for different environments. Okay, so like collection is nothing but a group of endpoints. Okay, so here you can create without collections. We can do that. We can so here you can make a HTTP call, graph call, socket call, or you can create a new collection. All those things you can do. So I'm going to create a new collection, new blank collection. Again, you can create a REST API basics end-to-end testing API prototyping, but I'll create a new uh, collection. I'll rename it as a first core API. So here, so the advantage of collections is you can run the collection, the entire collection easily. So I say dev student API. Yeah, I'll do like this, dev student API, add a request. Okay, so this request name you can give get all students. So what is the URL? What is the URL? This is the URL, right? You copy this URL and so I want to test this get all method. So either you can check here what kind of URL you have to make when you run this application, or you can go to your uh, Swagger, and here you can see the URL directly. So this is the local HTTPS and API student. So just API student. Okay. So run this. So when you are running this, okay, it hit your API. So now you're running the API from Postman and you can see the results. You can see the results. Can you see the results? So this get all students is a endpoint testing entity for your Postman. So where you are giving the URL, it is not taking any parameters. So if you send it, it's going to hit your API. You can see it hit your API, and you can so you can run this. Is it clear what I have done? So the Postman will be used to test your APIs. Mhm. Right. Mhm. Right. So what do you mean by REST API? See, The REST API, are you talking about the web API? So see what you got. Same. No, MVC API again. We discussed about MVC. There is an API. Yeah. S- So Core API is a like wrapper on top of your RESTful APIs. So RESTful APIs will be they will be they will have all these um, like CRUD operations, or the we call it as a verbs. So and they are simple. If you see WCF APIs or web service APIs, so they have a overhead of like configuration. If you are using a WCF API or WCF service, you have to uh, there are various protocols you have to use. You have to do some you have to create some proxy. Even for web services also, you have to create some proxy at your local, and you have to um, call the proxy, and that proxy actually it will call the actual API. But the RESTful APIs or the .NET Core APIs, they are like URL based. Even from your mobile, from your browser, you can call them. So they are URL based. You no need to do any configuration. So now in order to call this API, did I make any configurations? I just called it by using URL. I did not make any specific, I just created a collection, and within that collection I created a new request, and I used the URL to call the API. Apart from that, did I make any other configurations like creating proxies or creating some fabric objects? Nothing I have done, right? So in the mobile era, these are RESTful APIs are very lightweight APIs. You don't need to do any overhead, or you don't need to do any specific configuration to call the services. They are just URL based. Just form the URL. So here forming URL is important. So that's why the Swagger is doing and helping you. And then use that URL to call your actual APIs. So these are URL based. Yes, yeah. But even the REST API, the RESTful APIs, there are various versions. That's what I'm saying. Core API is a better version for the RESTful APIs. Even you can make WCF APIs as this REST um, came from the WCF era onwards. So even when you're working in WCF, you see some RESTful APIs. So what is the difference between REST APIs and WCF APIs? WCF APIs are heavy, WCF services are heavy, REST APIs are lightweight version of the WCF services. So again, the .NET Core APIs, they simplified the performance and all the stuff. Okay. So like you can just form the URL, and you can hit using Postman. So I can add one more request. So now this get a student, get a student, get a student. So what is the URL for this? So for this, the URL is this one. Yeah, API student and ID. So API student and ID. I'll do two. So it's hitting the specific endpoint. Okay, and you can see Tina. If I specify for, you can see the record for. So now tell me, this URL will be same for all these endpoints, correct? This URL will be same for all these endpoints. Is that correct? So why can't I make it as a configurable variable? And where I can do this? So there is a environment. Okay, you can click on global, new environment. You can say dev environment. You can create a different environments. Okay, so variable, its type, add new variable. You can call it as a dev first API. So the initial value will be this one. The current value will be same. Is it a secret or default? Secret means it will be not visible. If it is default means you can see. So sometimes you store the secret values like the passwords or some keys. So in that case, you have to make them secret so that nobody can see it. So how can I use this? This is a variable, right? So go to your collection. Okay. So here, okay. So when it got resolved, you will see this, and even you can, okay, let's see. So even you can create variables here also. Those are global variables, or you can create variables like this here within the collection also. HTTPS. So current value will be same. Okay, here you have to save. Yeah. So now it got resolved. You can see the value, right? Can you see the value? Yeah. So you can, so what is the advantage of using these variables? What is the advantage of using these variables? Yes, that is one right. And also if there is a change in the URL, so if suppose this URL changed from 8080 to 8081, if you are using it individually, you have to come here and change all the variables. But now you are going here, going to the variables and just changing here, and it will be reflected in all the places. So this is for new insert or add student. So Okay, so here this is a get method. So this is a get method, and add student is a post method. If you see, this add student is a post method, right? HTTP post method. So how can you represent HTTP method? So here you can see all the HTTP methods. Okay, so div API slash API slash student slash. So what parameters it is taking? How to call this post method? So you have to give this uh, give this body. You have to define the body. So how can I define the body? So here these are the parameters. So if you add the parameters here, okay, so those parameters will be added here. But if you go to the body, so there is a raw in body, you can say raw, or this is the JSON or JavaScript or any type of data you want to pass. So I'm using, so you can put this. So first name, I say John, male, AB 22, it's 5. So now I'm going to hit, and it hit the HTTP get method. Why? Why it didn't hit the post method? Here you have to specify the post type. Yeah. So now it will hit the post method, and you can see the data whatever I passed from Postman, you are seeing the data here. Can you see the data? So this data will be validated and it will be sent it to your database, and it got added. So what, and here it is very, the Postman is like, especially the body of the uh, Postman is very sensitive. If you miss anything, let's see, so it's going to give an error. So sometimes when we type these spaces, yeah, it's spaces. Spaces are fine. Sometimes when you copy paste, there will be some additional spaces will be added. Okay, so be careful and uh, be sensitive with this Postman collection. So even you can do from URL encoded or parameters. There are different ways you can send. These are the headers, these are the body, this is from data, form data, and we can do, if you are this raw data, you can send it from here also. So you copy this and put it in a notepad. Okay, we can send data differently here. Okay, value will be put quotations. I am not sure whether we can put quotations or not, but find it out. Remove quotations here. Age 22. ID 5. So let's run this. Now I have selected URL encoded. No, unsupported. Okay, unsupported media type. Okay, let's have quotations here. Mhm. Is it from data? I think it's from data. So let's try this one. First name, last name, age. What else we have? ID, gender, right? Gender. No, this is form data. Yeah, I used URL encoded values, um, but not the form data. So let's see whether it works. Or is it failed? One or more validation error could fail to read the request form. Invalid. Okay. First name. Yeah. So yeah, I didn't use this one, but I used it. Age. Let's remove all the. I don't know whether this will work or not. But the ideal scenario you will use, you can use the raw and JSON data. So that JSON data will be converted. So remove these. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. No. Yeah, but yeah, I used both. Uh, No, it's not liking it. Yeah, we can find it out. But the raw is the one, and when you are using the raw, you can use you have to use the JSON because we are using JSON format, and it will hit. Okay, so similarly, so save it. See, still it is showing get student only, but here we kept post student. So don't forget, save it. So you have to save the tabs, or you can say save as also, but you have to save the tabs. Yeah, otherwise the data will be there, but it's not going to reflect. So add one more request. So this time it is a delete dev API. Um, so even I think we can put API also. Okay, student. Okay, so this, what is this taking? Um, put is taking same object. So the same object we can, so this is update student raw. So this is 2. Okay, sorry, this is delete, right? So 2, this is not update, this is delete. Save it, run it. Yeah, it's hitting, and it should not see the number 2 record. So then add another request. So this is update student. So this is put. So from add, you take this your data, go to body, raw, and remove all this stuff. 2. Okay. Yeah. The next item what I'm going to do is discussing this. Okay. So even though if you're not using anything, you have to send an empty. Okay, we are updating, right? Yeah. We have to send this data. John A. Mail ABS, and it's 2. You can see the second record got updated. John A. Mail ABS. Earlier it was Tina female, some last name and age, right? So yeah. So any questions here? So this is my collection, and you can right click and you can say run collection. So when you say run collection, run manually, you can use the schedule to run this API, automate run with CLI. Okay, iterations, how many iterations you want to do that, and how many milliseconds of delay you want to specify each iteration. You can put it into results into data. Okay, just run. So it's going to hit dev. Request could not be sent due to check console. Yeah. So this is something we have to do the testing test cases we have to add. Yeah, but you can run this collection entirely. You have to make some more configurations, but we can skip that now. We can look into those details later. But right now your aim and purpose is set up Postman, configure your Postman to run your APIs, and set these variables. Look into your these variables and use that variable within your APIs. And so if you are working on an API which is huge, you will have lot of collections here with different configuration variables. So right now we hard coded only the URL, but sometimes you will use few parameters, common parameters within your APIs. So in that case, you can use. You can you can configure all your variables here and you can use them. But right now, your focus is to configure the Postman and call your APIs. So you have any questions? Look at the window. Yeah, you look at the window. So when you run your core API or core application, so that will be by default, it will be deployed in your Crystal. So it got Crystal, yes. So it's a temporary. It got deployed here and the URL got generated. We'll see how to deploy this into your local, either IAS or Crystal permanently. If you, yeah, you, yeah. So, yeah. So let me stop this and now run your Postman. So this is going to throw an error. You can see the error, and the error says URL is empty. Runtime extension request. So no, 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 no. That's what I'm saying. It's not in the debug mode. It should be in the deployable. So when you run this, since it is in local, you are able to debug it. But if you deploy this into your development server, the URL will be development servers. And then when you are hitting the development server, the debugging will not be happen. So, but the postman will be called when you are hitting this by using a production URL. The production APIs will be hit. So that's why I did not say carefully. I was very careful. If you want to test your APIs in the Postman, your application need to be deployed. How the local deployment will happen? When you run this, the local deployment will happen. So since it is local, and that's why you are able to debug it from the Postman. So this is the local deployment URL. And if you deploy this into your dev environment, QA environment, UATR production, you will have a different URLs. You have to use that URL to hit those specific instances, and that will be hit. Yeah, it depends on the data what we are carrying, but these are all the different options. Whether you are using form URL encoded or uh, raw, both will be at the end. Both will be converted into this student object only, because this is taking student object as a parameter. So you have to send data, and that data need to be converted into this format. So these are the different options. So forget about this URL encoded. This is little uh, like we need to do some extra steps, but you can use the raw. And when you are using the raw JSON, most of the time we will hit. These are the different types of data types again within the raw. So when I use JSON, this entire thing will be converted into JSON, and that JSON will be converted into your C# object. That's what it happens. Okay. So when you come tomorrow, uh, go to SQL Server Management Studio. So download SSMS. Even I have to download in this laptop. So download here SQL Server, and I will also download, and we will see. We will start SQL Server tomorrow. Okay. So I'm stopping recording.